Part 1 is over on my husband's channel. Okay? This is 9 more reasons you'd be called a witch in medieval times. We already figured out the fact that I talk in my sleep is a problem.
That's an issue. Yeah.
I'm a woman and I can read. It's another problem.
I'm just thinking about that cheesy one. That's just the one that's just throwing me for a loop.
You know what? I'm gonna give him the cheese.
The one that was pretty interesting was the yawning one. They're like, you gotta yawn and put a cross up real quick. These like super superstitious ones, you know, where it's like the community's doing it. There's the one guy that's like, I just hate everybody here. I'm just trying to live my life.
Like, I'm just trying to farm and make my life.
Witch, we hate you. Stop being good at stuff. You're killing the vibe.
I'm dying.
Anything that kills the vibe, witch. Like,
they just wanted everything to be plain. If your beer was too good, witch. If your cheese was too good, witch. Like, come on, bro. Anywho's, what up, Ho Biscuits? It's your girl Skitten, back at it again. Got my husband here with me. Like I said, go check out part 1 if you haven't already. This is part 2. I hope you guys are doing well, staying safe and sanitized, not engaging in any witchy activities. And if you are, why am I not invited?
Admit it. Like, admit it in the comments.
First of all, why am I not invited? And could you cast like a little spell, like a prosperity spell on my life? I need money.
Okay, don't be asking like super specific witchy requests.
I don't think I have to do, like, I don't think, like, do you need some of my hair? And if so, does it have to be like my real hair?
Listen,
or can it be like just attached to my head?
Don't you cast no spells on us without our permission first. No consent is given for casting spells. Say it. Say you don't give consent.
Unless it's a prosperity spell.
I feel like this is like one of those like recording people in public arguments.
Yeah.
Like, how do you stop them from casting spells? You can't stop me.
Anyways, super excited to see what this video has in store for us. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started.
Let's get right into it.
Okay.
Number 9.
I get numbers on mine.
Yeah.
You knew too much.
Yeah.
Back in those days.
That's you.
If you were a woman who seemed a little too smart.
Damn.
That's it. Game over.
I'm out on the first one.
You brought it up in the intro because you could read, but he never actually said that till just now.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, technically you're still in the game. Just kidding. You're out. You're gone.
My love of trivia is my downfall.
Yeah, the actuallys are your downfall. Nobody cares about the trivia. It's the correcting the mans. Don't you correct me no more, woman.
Good. People started to get suspicious. You see, the average medieval peasant wasn't exactly a scholar. Most folks were illiterate and had the scientific knowledge of a turnip. So, if you were a woman who could read, write, or even worse, do math, people started to wonder where you got these devilish skills. Let's say your neighbor got a nasty case of the runs. You give them a natural medicine and they're back to solid stools in no time. But instead of thanking you, people start giving you the side eye. In their minds, there's no way you know all this. They think you must be getting your knowledge from the devil himself. Never mind that you might have learned it from your grandmother, who learned it from her grandmother, and so on. Nope. To them, any woman with a brain full of knowledge was suspicious. And don't even think about having a curious mind. If you started asking too many questions like, why does the sun rise and set? Or, how do birds fly? You were basically asking for trouble.
I mean, that's asking
in their
a
minds,
lot anyway.
A curious woman was a dangerous woman, and a dangerous woman was probably a witch.
And thus, the entire plot of Castlevania was born.
Oh, fire-ass game, too.
I will just say, I am a Dracula apologist. He was not wrong. He was not wrong. Because first of all, y'all burnt his wife at the stake.
Yeah.
He should have wiped y'all out then.
But then
he gave you a year. He said, I'm going to give you a year to clear the fuck out. And when I come back, it's up.
And when I watched it in real time, I thought, what are they going to do within this year to make it up for him? I thought maybe it would start out well.
Right.
And then there would be some infighting. You know. But the whole collective just said, hey, fuck him, right?
And then they threw a party.
Yeah.
Celebrating his wife's
killing the
death.
Witch. That's nuts. A festival.
They didn't want to live.
Didn't they have a parade?
Yeah, something like that. And I would just like to say, there are easier ways to commit suicide.
Yeah.
They
said,
y'all could have put some fucking stuff in the community stew. Like, you didn't have to do all this.
I see. Yeah, they decided, we're taking the whole world with us.
Yeah.
We're going to throw a party so banger. You're going to want to kill every human on Earth.
Project X. I'm dead. Anyway, that was such a good show. I can't wait to rewatch it.
I know. We really should, though. We should also play the game again.
Yeah.
Number 8. Owning mirrors. Back then, Mirrors were rare, expensive, and considered a luxury item.
That makes sense.
So, if you had one, people started to wonder where you got the cash for such a fancy piece of glass. But it wasn't just about the money. Mirrors were believed to be portals for demons.
Right.
The idea was that demons and spirits could use mirrors to enter our world. And if you owned a mirror, well, you must be inviting them over for tea and biscuits. People thought witches used mirrors for all sorts of weird stuff, summoning demons, communicating with the dead, even trapping souls.
Now, to be fun, a lot of lore now in fantasy games uses mirrors in really creative ways.
And it's great. I love it.
Yeah, the little looking glass is always like a little pendant, the something magical mirror, and you open it up, and your own reflection turns into a demon, and you can wreck house, you know?
Right.
The trapping souls one makes a whole lot of sense, too, because mirrors are fucking weird.
Yeah, when you think of, like, when you really think about it.
Yeah. Like, that whole, there's another dimension in there. That had me when I was, like, 10. I was like, they're fucking might be.
No, like, you're right.
And you know how breaking a mirror is supposed to be bad luck nowadays?
Yes.
Well, in the Middle Ages, a broken mirror was like accidentally releasing a bunch of demons into the world. Good luck explaining that one to your local priest. Imagine your neighbor peeking through your window and seeing you admiring your reflection. Suddenly, you're not just checking if you have spinach in your teeth. Nope, you're now officially conducting a demonic ritual. Also, some people believed that every time you looked in a mirror, a little piece of your soul got sucked inside, like a supernatural vacuum cleaner. The craziest part is that the church actually banned mirrors for a while. The higher-ups decided mirrors were just too spooky and dangerous for the average Joe to own.
Kind of spooky.
Number 7.
I mean, I feel like that also has to do with vanity, you know? Like, and the church is very much, has always been against, like, vanity, you know, placing too much value on your appearance because, like, why do you give a fuck about your appearance? God doesn't care what you look like.
Are you also doing the thing where, like, you're watching these and you're trying to find, like, the justifications for, like, why it kind of was taboo?
Yeah.
Because, like, when I'm watching this, I'm kind of trying to dig a little deeper. Like, why would they think that? Because there's a lot of stereotypes we have about those communities back then. And one thing I keep coming back to is that there was just no cameras. Like, everything was word of mouth. There were no text messages. There were no emails. A lot of people couldn't write anyway, so they couldn't write detailed logs.
Yeah, a lot of these were just ingrained traditions.
Yeah, they're just guessing, bro.
Yeah.
They're just like, what's the feeling?
Yeah.
It feels wrong.
Yeah.
You were a midwife. If anything went wrong during a birth, guess who the neighbors would blame? Yep, the poor
That's
midwife.
very true.
Let's say the baby had a birthmark. That was an immediate red flag. The superstitious folks back then called it a devil's mark. It was proof that the midwife had made a deal with Satan himself, and if the baby didn't cry right away, it must be because the midwife cast an evil spell to steal its voice.
She's breathing directly into that girl's coochie.
Yeah, why is she doing
God
that?
damn.
You should have picked a better angle for that.
This is like,
She's the pussy whisperer. That's crazy.
Like, of all the concerns you could have about your midwife, damn.
That's crazy.
Even if the birth went perfectly and the baby was as healthy as can be, that was suspicious too. Clearly, the midwife must have made some unholy deal to ensure such a flawless delivery. Also, midwives often used herbs and potions to help ease the pain of childbirth. But to the medieval mind, those weren't just ordinary plants. They were magical ingredients straight from the devil's garden. If a baby was sickly or didn't survive, midwives were accused of swapping the real baby with a changeling, which was a demonic creature disguised as a sickly infant. Because apparently...
That's funny as hell.
But also, changelings were less associated with demons and more associated with fairies. So I really feel like we're kind of mixing mythologies here. Like, changelings were about, like, the fae. Like, you had not a human baby, you had a fairy baby.
Yep.
They had your human baby over in fairyland.
Exactly.
That's what changelings were.
There's a little exchange there. A little cultural exchange.
But anyway.
Not like devil worship.
Right. Like, would that still mean that you were a witch? I mean, yeah, potentially.
These midwives had a secret stash of demon babies just waiting to be swapped out. To top it all off, midwives were usually older women. And we all know how the superstitious folks back then felt about older, knowledgeable women. Number 6. You played unusual music.
How do they feel about older, knowledgeable women? Why are you dropping like a little nugget there for us just to stereotype all these people?
The older part wasn't mentioned, but he's already talked about the knowledgeable part, so I think that's just what he's referring to.
You see, The church had a pretty tight grip on what was considered acceptable music. Anything outside of their approved playlist was seen as the devil's work. Folk music, with its lively tunes and catchy rhythms, was particularly suspect. The church saw it as a gateway to...
This is a stretch. Yeah.
Again, if it was too good, they were like, devil must have made it. Devil must have made it.
See, this one right here is an interesting one because... yeah, potentially the church would demonize a lot of things that folk people would do.
Right,
but that's the colonizer mindset. That's a part of the idea.
Yeah, that doesn't necessarily mean that they would have thought you were a witch. They did just think you were ungodly.
Yeah.
Could that lead to accusations of witchcraft? Of course.
Of course, probably.
But so could being a woman that had her own money.
Right.
So...
you know, like the witch thing as a catch-all for this vid is smart because it lets us go to like a lot of different areas of like what did modern society see, but the angle of it is what I'm talking about. This is what I say when I say that the European mindset won the history war. Because this whole angle of this video is like taking the church's mindset as the...
exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Overall, overarching.
It's removing the agency from all the other places and be like, this equals the negative thing as the term. And that's all I mean. That's just when I watch this, what I think about because... you know, yeah, of course, they demonized everything that wasn't westernized.
But that was specifically the church that did that. That didn't necessarily mean that communities were out here doing that.
No, not even a little bit. You know, that's just what we write about and what we talk about. But absolutely not. That's how we still get folk music. That's why it's still here. Yeah. Obviously.
Sin and debauchery. After all, if people started dancing and enjoying themselves, who knows what other wicked things they might get up to. People believed that certain tunes could summon demons, curse crops, or even make cows dance. And let's be real, nobody wants to see a cow twerking. Anything too upbeat, too catchy, or too much fun was seen as the devil's work.
What is that song? The song about the girl. This is the story of a girl. No, the nasty girl. What's that song?
I've been a nasty girl, nasty. I've been a nasty.
The deacon up there like nodding, like yeah. They're like devil, witch. She's a witch.
Right.
It gets even wilder. Some instruments were straight up banned for being too devilish. Take the fiddle, for example. Today, it's a staple in folk music, but back then, it was known as the devil's instrument. People believed that the fiddle's high-pitched sounds were actually the screams of tortured souls in hell.
Damn.
There was even a popular legend that the devil himself would appear at crossroads and offer to teach people how to play the fiddle in exchange for their souls. And
there's a whole song about that.
Don't even think about dancing. Dancing to unusual music was seen as a sure sign of demonic possession. You could be doing a medieval TikTok dance, and people would think you were having a supernatural seizure. Number 5. You were a wealthy widow.
I just talked about this.
There it is.
I literally wrote a whole paper about this.
Really?
Because I used to be in college.
Oh, well, don't worry. You know, you English majors are so.
This was actually for my history degree. Thank you very much.
Yeah, but the only reason you're talking about it is because you're an English major. We're making fun of a commenter, but continue.
But what did they say?
I don't know, but that's all I can remember.
But anyway, but no, I literally wrote a whole paper about how like if you were a wealthy widow, they were immediately like, don't like that. Can't have that. What do you mean she can make her own decisions? What are you talking about?
To be under the control of a man at all times. If you didn't have a husband, father, or brother to keep you in line, people started to get suspicious. They'd be like, how come she's got all that cash and no man to spend it for her? And if you were actually good at managing your money and estate, boy, that's when things got really dicey. People couldn't wrap their heads around a woman being financially savvy. They'd think, she's probably using some sort of dark magic to make those numbers add up. No way a woman could handle finances without the devil's help. And it gets even worse. Let's say you decide to remarry after a while. You'd think people would be happy for you, right? Finding love again and all that? Nope. They start whispering behind your back that you must have put a spell on your new husband to make him fall for you. Because apparently, the only way a widow could land a second husband is through some seriously dark magic. So what should a wealthy widow do? Well, you could give all your money to the church. That might get you off the hook. But let's be real. Who wants to do that?
That's what I was getting ready to say, is that there's actually a lot of interesting stories that I've heard about basically them saying there was this whole idea, basically pay your way to heaven, right? You know, the way it's constructed, donate land, donate property, donate money, you know, whatever, then we'll redistribute it for you. And there was a lot of pressure of people just being like, dude, you know, you're not donating enough. You're not tithing enough. You're not, giving enough to the church.
What could you, as a lone woman with no family, you ain't got no kids, no husband, what do you need all this money for? Yeah.
And God could use it for their godly works.
God forbid a woman have hobbies.
Right. I know. She's out here buying cows and poking them. Look at this. What I can do with all my cash.
Number 4. You were a baker. Yeast is the magical ingredient that makes dough rise. But this was a total mystery back then. To the average medieval villager, the way dough would puff up overnight seemed like magic.
I don't know about that. A lot of people made bread forever.
Yeah. Bread's always been a thing.
This one is, we got this one and the cheese one. We got to look this up. Because, like, everybody made bread.
Yeah.
But maybe they don't, they don't understand
I do know that, like, back then it was different, like, different bread. Like, a lot of bread was more flat.
I was getting ready to say, there were flat breads, though, huh? Man, maybe it didn't rise with yeast.
He didn't know about the science of fermentation. If a baker's bread didn't rise properly, folks would start pointing fingers, claiming that evil spirits were sabotaging the baking process.
Right.
I mean, obviously, the devil himself was personally invested in ruining everyone's sandwich plans, right? And if the bread rose too much, it was a sign that the baker had some supernatural help. Witchcraft was the obvious explanation. Sometimes, bread got moldy, and not just any mold, but a special type of fungus called ergot that grows on damp rye. Now, ergot isn't your average fuzzy green stuff. When consumed, it can cause some pretty trippy hallucinations. Imagine you're a baker, and one day, half the village is running around claiming they saw dragons in the sky after eating your bread. They would be like, you've clearly bewitched us with your devil bread. Number 3, you were a weaver. Back then, weaving was seen as a mysterious and almost magical skill. Some people believed that witches could weave curses into their fabric. So if someone wore a piece of cloth you made and then got sick, or had a run of bad luck, guess who they blamed? That's right, you and your enchanted weaving skills. And if that wasn't enough, there were tales of weavers using enchanted threads. These threads were said to be spun from the hair of witches, or even the devil himself. So if your fabric was too smooth or too strong, it was obviously made with some supernatural help. Weavers often worked with colors and dyes, and back then, dyeing cloth was not a simple task. It involved a mix of weird ingredients like crushed bugs, roots, and even urine. To the average medieval villager, these were all...
I ain't never heard that in my life. You made that shit up.
I'm not Googling piss cloth, but somebody do it for me. Type in Google piss cloth. Come back and report to me what it says.
Maybe don't look it up like that. Maybe there's different search terms that we can utilize. Be very descriptive
about what you find, but I will not Google it. I don't want to see what comes up.
Oh my God. I've never heard that, but okay.
Me either. That's
all
crazy.
Right, buddy.
I don't know the word.
I'm going to give it to him.
I don't know if the term piss cloth has ever been uttered before in history. I would like to coin the ownership of that phrase now.
To the average medieval villager, these were all ingredients for a witch's potion. Number 2, your soap was too effective. Back in the Middle Ages, making your own soap was a pretty common thing. You'd gather up some ashes, mix them with animal fat, and you've got yourself a nice little bar of homemade soap. So, you're living in a small village, and everyone's walking around with dirt covering their faces. The streets are filled with people who look like they just lost a fight with a pig in a mud pit. But then there's you, walking through town with your sparkling clean skin. People start to wonder, how on earth does she get her skin so clean? Rumors begin to spread faster than the plague. They start saying you're using witchcraft, because obviously the only way to achieve such a clean skin in a time where bathing was a luxury is through some sort of dark magic. Number 1, you were a lucky fisherman. So, you're a fisherman living in a small village by the sea. Every morning...
Finally, something that could apply to a man.
Man, they've really been just going in on women,
Because damn, God damn.
You a woman, you a woman with money, woman with greed, woman with stuff, woman that knows people, a woman that likes cats, a woman that just doing her job
well.
well.
What if you were a blacksmith and you made swords too good? Like, damn.
They're like, not a witch. He's enchanting it, but with the Lord's might. That's different.
You head out on your boat, cast your net, and hope for the best. Most days you come back with a modest catch. It's just enough to feed your family and maybe sell a few fish at the market. But then, something strange starts happening. Day after day, you return with a boatload of fish, more than anyone in the village has ever seen. At first, people are thrilled. They line up to buy your catch. and you become the talk of the town. But as your luck continues, people start to get suspicious. They start whispering behind your back. They're wondering how a simple fisherman could suddenly have such incredible success. Some even start to say that there must be some kind of witchcraft involved. But here's where it gets even weirder. Some people believed that witches could actually transform into fish themselves. They thought that witches would shapeshift into fish, swim among the schools of fish, and lead them straight into the nets of the fishermen they favored.
I thought that they were saying that they were eating witch fish. And I was like, damn, that's crazy.
I know, I was about to say, they're consuming fish bodies. But this ain't sushi, this is Cheryl. All right, well, thanks for letting me come on for this. What's a weird one?
It was interesting. There's a couple things that I'm going to have to fact check.
I am.
There's a couple things that I'm going to have to look up because I feel like I'm fairly familiar with the things that led to accusations of witchcraft. And I feel like there are a couple things on here that were a stretch.
I think so too, but I like that he tried to get us a list of 9. And he really stayed with it, you know, a minute per accusation.
I like that. I got numbers on mine. You didn't get numbers in yours.
We just had to
guess.
guess.
Numbers on mine.
Vibe it out.
I enjoyed it.
If you fuck the vibe up, you're a witch.
Oh,
Let's just keep it real.
All right.
I think if I was running a cult, I would adopt the witch accusation. I think I've had some versions of that on the Discord throughout the years.
Damn, that's crazy.
You know, labeling the others. And it's a really effective thing. So I support it.
Okay.
10 out of 10, colonizer mindset. Very effective. Yeah.
I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you didn't, you're a witch. Don't forget to leave your reaction requests and recommendations down in the comments below. And other than that, peace out, Hope Biscuits. It's Skittensays.
Start demonizing the people